All right, folks, round three. Again, I'm willing to go 5 rounds of videos on this shit, man, because we got to expose these Zionists. But again, exposing Carl Zha and Rachel Blevins as liberal Zionists.
None of the top you.
And so here's your recap here. We oppose China. I oppose China because China is the second largest trade partner of the Zionist entity. So I oppose China. I think Xi Jinping is guilty of genocide. And I think China, just like the United States, England, France, Scotland, etc., should face sanctions for genocide against Palestine. And I also think the Zionist entity should be obliterated. I think Palestine must obliterate the Zionist entity to achieve liberation.
U.S. diplomat in Middle East or anywhere else has, seriously placed resolving Palestinian issue at the core as the core of the foreign policy. Their foreign policy.
But has China though? That's the real question. Again, over the past 2 decades, trades of goods and services between China and the Zionist entity has increased significantly. China presently stands as the Zionist entity's second largest trading partner, with the total trade value increasing 24.45 billion US dollars, marking an 11.6% increase in 2022 compared to the previous year. And then China's been building all kinds of infrastructure for the Zionist entity at the expense of Palestine, right? So Chinese investments in Zionist infrastructure, right? So, the previous video we talked about the Jaffa light rail, right? And other infrastructure projects in other Zionist settlements that were built upon ethnically cleansed Palestinian towns. And cities as well. So the brand new port in the Bay of Jaffa, it's really Jaffa, it's next to Jaffa, in northern Palestine, that serves as the Zionist entity's industrial and transportation hub, has revealed to be a success for the trade of tons of products daily, at the expense of Palestine, of course. Since its inauguration in September 2021, the port has already lowered import prices and boosted the economy of the Zionist entity, given that shipping is the primary mode of transport for the country's foreign commerce. And the Shanghai Port Group, which was granted a 25-year franchise to operate the port, built it as an automated container port. The site can handle 1.86 million 20 equivalent units at an annual expenditure of 1.7 billion. Right? And so then, and we'll get into this. We'll listen to what he says.
It's very simple. We always stand behind Israel.
Which is literally what China's doing as well, right? China is no different on Palestine than the United States. China is just as genocidal towards Palestine than the United States. Future prospects for the China-Zionist entity relations. In 2021, China officially surpassed the United States to become the Zionist entity's greatest source of imports. In an effort to diversify its foreign reserves, the Zionist entity added the Chinese yuan to its central bank reserves for the first time in April 2022, while reducing its holdings of the US dollar and the euro. Finally, by the end of 2023, a free trade agreement, which was under the discussion for several years, could be concluded by the two parties. It's important to note, however, that the subsequent ratification process following the signing might extend for more than a year. According to information from the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the most recent dialogue between the two parties held in March 2023 indicated that significant strides in their reciprocal collaboration. Notably, this marked the 8th round of negotiations since 2016 and the first in-person meeting since November 2019. The robust discussions surrounding the potential FTA between China and the Zionist entity have sparked particular interest among the Zionist entity vehicle importers. With the significant shares of Chinese vehicle exports dominating the Zionist entity market, The proposed elimination of the current 7% import duty on vehicles from China carries the potential to reshape market dynamics and reinforce the already thriving economic relationship between the two entities, between the Zionist terror cell and China. So you see, China's liberal Zionist.
And Israel has completely figured out the United States. As a matter of fact,
and they've also figured out China. Again, China on Palestine is no different than the United States. Literally no different, as I've just demonstrated.
Benjamin Netanyahu was on record of saying, U.S. will support us no matter what.
And China's done the exact same thing as the United States. Again, China's guilty of genocide against Palestine, and so is the U.S. Both China and the U.S. are guilty of genocide against Palestine, and both Xi Jinping and Joe Biden need to be put in prison, right? Also, all Zionist squatters must be extradited, prosecuted, and incarcerated for genocide, right? Xi Jinping is no different than Joe Biden on Palestine. Despite his word salads and symbolic rhetoric, actions speak louder than words. Xi Jinping is a liberal Zionist.
We don't need to be afraid of international criticism. U.S. will always stand behind Israel.
Again, China is just as bad as the U.S. on Palestine, right? So, again, notably, China's growing involvement in the region extends to its diplomatic relations with the Zionist entity, as evidenced by the upcoming meeting between Zionist terrorist Netanyahu and Zionist collaborator Xi Jinping. The proactive engagement underscores China's role as a mediator, my ass. Mediator, my ass, right? Mediator, my ass, right? Let's see. So, in 2018 to 2022, the Zionist entities export to... So, great diplomatic accomplishments tend to take place when expert diplomats are presented with exceptional geopolitical opportunity. That was the case when China managed to broker a deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia. While a diplomatic coup for China, the Iran-Saudi detente was a product of both nations reevaluating how their long-simmering enmity was actually impacting their interests, right? And such an opportunity does not seem evident in Palestine, right? So even these fucking think tank motherfuckers, even these fucking sellouts from think tanks understand that China's not doing jack shit in Palestine, right? So this is the same article as the one I just clicked on, but not the one I just read to you, okay? So let's see. Again, China sucks, man. China's a shithole. It's a